Trent Mongero here. Welcome to Trosky Tuesday. We got Nate at the baseball field in California, preparing his nephew for a big event coming up. So he'll be joining us in just a minute. We have a great show tonight. We're going to continue our discussion on the most difficult challenges that infielders face. Last week, we were able to cover two. I felt like it was an outstanding discussion. We got how not to take pitches off and overcoming the voice of doubt. Two big deals. So tonight we're going to cover two more exciting topics. But before we do, I want to share with you two of our partners. We'd like to thank them. Steve Springer with Quality at Bats. Steve handles the mental side of hitting. He's literally one of the top guys in the world when it comes to teaching the mental game of hitting. If you haven't had him speak to your team yet, you may want to consider it. I've had him speak twice. So if he wasn't any good, certainly wouldn't have had him back a second time. He was outstanding. And then, of course, Alan Yeager with Yeager Sports. Most people know the J-bands that he is famous for, and he is a master of arm care. So two outstanding partners of ours, and we always like to give them a little prop because they do a fantastic job promoting baseball at all levels, and we want people to know about them. So tonight we're going to continue our discussion on the most difficult challenges that infielders face. So our goal, Nate and my goal, is to provide the most detailed information on infield play that there is. Not to put anybody else down. There's some really good people out there. We are trying to go places that people typically don't go. First of all, most people don't take pride in their defense. It's like the redheaded stepchild. It's just that old saying that, people neglect defense. It's all offense and pitching. Okay. Well, defense wins games. Defense wins positions on the field. And if you want to advance, you got to be able to play D. So we've taken pride on the infield side of things. And so tonight the first thing we want to discuss is the challenge of playing low. The challenge of playing low. What does that mean? What are some of the characteristics involved with it? Okay, and I'm going to turn it over to Nate in just a minute. We're going to dive deep into this topic, and then we're going to at least get to one more tonight. But this is a huge one. This might be just as big as the two we covered last week, Nate. So playing low, why is it such a big deal, and what are some keys to playing low as an infielder? Uh-oh. Nate, you've muted yourself.
Okay.
There you go.
I'd like to welcome everybody today. I'm over here at the park. I'm in the dugout. We got some sparrows chirping right now, so you probably could hear them in the back. They're happy to be here. I'm happy to be here too. Thank you everybody for joining in, and we're excited about today. And like Trent said, we're covering some of the challenges that infielders face. And, pretty much these all go to the mental game. And, when we're talking about playing low, it's a physical thought. You're going, okay, that's about the physical side of the game. But it's really not. To me, it's a product of the mental game. And we're going to talk about it. And we're going to get this going here. But before we do, Trent, do you have the two that we covered last week?
Yeah.
Can you just briefly tell the guys what they were in case they missed them, and also how they can go back? I think they can go back to Facebook and revisit those. And this is something that you'd want to listen to over and over and over, like Springer's Quality at Bats CD. I've listened to that. I started listening to it when I was 30, over 20 years ago. I've listened to it probably 200 times. I literally can verbatimly say it before he says a line. I know what he's going to say next because I've heard it so many times. And we talk about learning things at another level of learning. We're talking about learning at another level. That's like you know your name. And if you don't know this like you know your name, that means you don't really know it. And this game doesn't allow you to think. It's the quickest and slowest game in the world. So you have this slow time, then the ball takes off at 100 miles an hour, and you have to be, on time with precision. And if you're trying to think as the ball's moving and you're moving, what happens? You're late, you're beat, you're behind. So we want you guys to listen over and over So we call the rat, the CEO of the rat nation. This becomes who you are. It's your instincts, and instincts is a product of information, building your IQ. So the player that you see out there, we say, man, that guy's got high instincts. He's got great feel for the game. It's not just a product of knowledge. It's a product of knowing that knowledge unconsciously. So ball players, if you want to be at another level, we encourage you, and parents, we encourage you to encourage your players when they're just sitting before bed or after dinner, to listen to this information. If you could cover the first two, Trent, that'd be awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I want to add to that. Not only should they be listening, but they should be taking notes. And, if I was a player, there's no doubt about it that I would be listening and taking notes and applying this information, because Nate and I and many other players of our generation didn't have this information. So we talked about not taking pitches off. Okay, the challenges of not taking pitches off. And then we talked about overcoming the voice of doubt. So the opposite of overcoming the voice of doubt, well, it means building confidence and overcoming the human side of the voice of doubt. I thought, as I mentioned, I did mention this at the start while you were setting up. I mentioned both of these to the audience, Nate, and I told them that, they're huge. It might have been, in my opinion, the best podcast yet, not because of anything that we, because it was us, but really the information that was shared, I thought was outstanding for any player, parent, or coach. And if you know it already, hats off to you. That's fantastic. Okay. But I'm picking up things every week as well from bouncing off Nate, and, it's only making me better, and in return, my players better. So those were the two that we covered. We're getting into playing low, Nate. Let's dive in.
Super. So when you think of a mistake, when you think of a player making a mistake, making an error, there's different categories you can put it in. And one would be posture, a poor posture. And posture really is a product of where you're playing. My body posture, my high, am I low, am I in my legs, is my chest forward, up, down? Where is my posture? So pretty much when you go back to looking at why players made mistakes, it typically goes back to the first one we talked about is my ability to be present, focused, and on time, one pitch at a time. La quiero, I want the ball. I want. Literally, are you in that mindset, and are you in that frame of mind? Well, first off, you check that off. The player says, okay, so what we do is we actually have a checklist for them. So once they make an error, the game's over. And now we go back, we locate our black box like airplanes do after they have a major crash. They go back, they locate the black box, and the black box gives them the information. It tells them what went wrong so they can actually fix it and assess the problem. They can make an adjustment and make an advancement in that area. So when we make a mistake, it's not like, well, I just made a mistake. It's gather the information. Don't fear making mistakes. It is education. Mistake making is education. So we begin with, were you focused? If he checks that box, yeah, I was focused. I wanted the ball. I was locked in. I was expecting to be challenged. Okay, we check that box off. The second would be the voice of doubt. Did you have any doubt in your mind at all? Did you have any hesitation? Were you committed? Did you want the ball? So let's say he checks that box. So we got focus checked off. We got confidence checked off. And then we go to the next one would be your posture. Mechanics are a product of your posture. And when we think of posture, we think about, are you high? Are you low? Are you in your legs? And what we see is, and I see it all the time, in my world's a little different than yours because you work with a group of players, right? You work with a group of players that you see daily. So I'd like, we'd love to have your feedback as well. But from my experience is more about travel ball, showcases, pro combines, players, individual training, those types of environments. And I'll just give you an example. When you watch the players at the area codes, when they take their ground balls, so there's 30 players at shortstop. One comes out at a time and he gets his 5 ground balls. And the first thing you notice immediately is that players play too high. They play high. Their chest is upright. So what that creates is their vision is high, right? And then as they have to go down to the ball, they have to actually have extra movement. We talk about efficiency of movement, which is absolutely essential. And it's the same with a hitter, right? Small margins of error. The ball's coming fast. Speed will expose me. So yeah, I could take a routine ground ball and have any posture I want. For the most part, I have a good field. I have a turf field where I'm getting true hops every time. My chest is high. I'm playing high. And when we get through, every year it's the same thing. 28 out of 30 players, they all play too high. Well, why are they doing it? I mean, is the question. And the thing is they don't even know they're doing it. They're being reinforced by how we practice in our practice environments here in the United States. And I would say it's pretty much across the world. I've coached all over the world, and it's really not any different. It's how we practice. So what happens is players are reinforced. Now, this is the problem. When you get beat, typically you get beat low. You're out of posture. You either weren't focused, you either didn't want the ball, or you're out of posture, okay? So posture, we're going to really categorize it to playing low, because when you are low, you have the ability to have your hands out in front. You can manipulate your hands forward and back, because now I'm in a good position, okay? So when we think of these players, what they do is they practice at a tempo, and they practice at a challenge level that really doesn't challenge them. So think of it. What do most infield coaches do when they're doing their daily infield drills, if they do them? If they do daily infield drills, typically it's a ball that's not moving. So they're working footwork. They're working maybe a little glove work. And then they go into short hops. So often they'll start with their short hops, which are very, they're unchallenging plays. So I can literally almost fall asleep during my short hop drills because there's no challenge there. It's very easy. I've been doing it. It's like walking. I don't need to I could close my eyes and walk, and I'll still walk the same. Well, when they do their short hop drills, they're being reinforced with sloppy posture, playing high, and they're still making the play. So what happens when you're reinforced by doing something negatively? Negative behavior being reinforced over and over with a positive result. You know what happens? They don't even know they're doing it. Now what they do is they work on a stationary ball. Then they might go to a stationary ball to some rolled balls. So they just did 3 drills in a row that you can play high and get away with it. And then they go into feel-good fungos. So the majority of the fungos are maybe short-range fungos, nice and easy, or they're on their knees, nice and easy, or the coach goes back to home plate and he hits some, 80% of the balls are routine ground balls. So there's no challenge. And what happens is you're reinforcing negative behavior over and over and over. So they're taking hundreds, if not thousands of reps over the years. And what happens is they're playing high and they don't know it, and they're being rewarded for it. Then you go in between the innings, and what happens, Trent? What happens between the innings? You talk about lazy ground balls, lazy posture, and of course they don't miss it. So now they're being even reinforced again. So it's just constant reinforcement over and over and over. And now what play are we actually preparing for? We're preparing for the great play. We're preparing for the play that challenges us. And what elite infielders do is they make the great play routine, and the routine play remains routine because of posture, because of mindset, because of anticipation. So through all of our drills, all of our warm-ups, in between the innings, and our turf fields, what happens is we're reinforced a negative behavior. And what happens is it just becomes who you are. And then in the 7th inning, you get a rocket to your backhand, and it hits off the tip of your fingers. And you're like, man, I could have made that play. Well, why do you think you didn't make it? It's because of your posture. You got comfortable and familiar with playing high, and it becomes who you are. So checkpoints, infielders need to have checkpoints. And I don't know if you want to comment on that, Trent.
Yeah, I mean, I got numerous things I want to say, but I don't want to get in the middle.
No, please do. No, please do, because I'm going to just keep rambling. So
yeah, no, I mean, it's an unbelievable challenge for every infielder that I've ever coached. One, they need to understand the why, because it's a huge challenge to play low. Okay. I mean, one of the biggest things we try to emphasize to our infielders is it's much easier to go up than it is to react down. So when you're playing low, your eyes are on the level of the ball. It's like you get behind the ball. You can read hops. You can read speed better. You're cleaner with the ball. You're not disconnected. When you're up high and the ball's down low, there's a sense of being disconnected with your eye-hand coordination. Okay. There's a couple other factors that come to mind. One is the taller you are and the lower the ball is, if it's rolling on the ground and your posture's bad, so your chest is up, your hands are going to field the ball underneath you. They have to, in order to be low enough to actually field the ball off the ground. So what happens is the ball beats you. It gets deep. It gets into what's called our blind spot, Nate. And that means you're not literally seeing the ball into your glove. Okay. And when you're underneath, okay, you have the tendency to get handcuffed. you're not in a good position to receive and react to bad hops. And it will often force you. This is the key word, force you into taking extra steps. Okay. And we can get away with extra steps a lot of times, but there's certain times when you can't. And if, like you say, if it's your muscle memory to field the ball in such a way, and you've been rewarded by it to a degree, and now you're moving up the levels of the game where it's speeding up, it's going to cost you. And, you might make the vast majority of the plays, but you're going to miss too many. And when you start to move up, the difference is razor thin, and it also impacts your ability to gain ground once you field the ball. There's so many little things that are a problem. But my biggest pet peeve as a high school coach is the way infielders receive balls in between innings. Now, they watch big leaguers if they go to games or whatever, and big leaguers are very lazy in between innings. Okay. They're playing 162 games, whatever. They just stand there, bend over at the waist with no flexion in their knees. They field the ball at their toe or off to their side, and they flick it across the infield. Well, that's fine. Okay. They're big leaguers for a reason. High school kids that don't reinforce good habits start to get bad habits really fast. And in between innings, most guys have a tendency to let the ball play them. They just let it come. They get in a sloppy fielding position. They have sloppy throws, and then they expect to perform well when they get their 1 or 2 ground balls in a game. So, playing low to me is a, Nate, what other sport can you think of where you have to move and react and make, so low to the ground? You know what I mean? Like, it's not natural. And the muscles that you use, right, the way that you have to react and play as an infielder. And of course, the closer you are to the plate, the lower you need to start in general, because the ball is going to be by you in an instant. So those are some of the key things that immediately come to my mind. And I know you got more, so I'm going to turn it back over to you.
So when you talk about, so those are great points. So one, we're talking about efficiency of movement, and to be successful, you're trying to simplify. When the ball's coming to an infielder, it's coming fast often, and it's challenging you within tenths of seconds, just like a hitter. A hitter has roughly 4/10 of a second to get it all done. Well, that's less than half a second. Well, when the ball's squared up at anywhere from 80 to 120 miles an hour on the ground, and your job is to actually square up the ball in your glove, in the sweet spot in your glove, picking the hop, literally picking the hop within tenths of seconds. Let me tell you something, you don't have time for extra movement. So all the things, and we're talking about making the great play routine. You can make the routine play with almost any posture. You could stand on your head. That's the problem, because the majority of the plays are routine. So you make a play, your feet aren't on time. You might even be doubting a little bit, and it's not a challenge play, and you're playing high, and you still make the play. You were just rewarded for doing 3 things wrong. But what happens is you will be exposed. It's just like driving without your seatbelt. At some point within the next 40 years, you're probably going to get into some type of accident. You will be exposed. But if you're reinforced every day without wearing your seatbelt, you say it doesn't really matter anymore. Well, you know what happens on year number 29? You're 47 years old, and someone doesn't stop at the stop sign and they hit you, and boom, you were exposed. When are you going to be exposed? I don't want to be exposed in the 9th inning with the winning run on second base. I don't want to be exposed I don't want to be ever exposed. So what we're doing is we're preventing problems, and we're setting ourselves up for greatness. We're allowing ourselves, it's the 212, 451, where we're separating ourselves 1 degree in multiple areas. We're preparing for opportunities, and that opportunity that I'm preparing for is that challenging play. And when that play appears on pitch number 112 or 52, I'm going to be ready, and I'm going to make that play. So posture, like you're talking about, allows myself to make plays with little effort. And we call that Wu Wei. And then when the scout or the college coach is watching, he's like, that guy made it look easy. Well, of course, because he's in posture. A couple other key things about posture, what you're talking about, Trent, is when the chest is down, literally parallel to the ground, you have to watch the ball in your glove, because you literally cannot lift your head up. When your chest is parallel, your face is also parallel, because your spine is connected from your neck through your back. So what happens is when you get to posture, low posture, but low does not mean butt down. It means your butt is actually up and your chest is parallel. So butt up, chest down, back parallel to the ground. Your face literally is parallel to the ground, and you naturally watch it in without even trying. Second piece to that is when your chest is in that posture, your hands are out in front without even trying. You do not even have to try. So what happens is it becomes easy. You're like, wow, that looks easy. Well, yeah, because he's in posture. So if we're out of posture, like you're saying, then you have this hand-eye disconnect. You talked about the eyes are too high. And you have all this movement, but going back to it, easy routine ground balls are easy. My father, who's 70, could take easy ground balls right now and not miss them. That's not the separator. We talk about the 996. Omar Vizquel, in my opinion, is the greatest shortstop to ever live. His fielding percentage is 996 for over 20 years in the big. Are you kidding me? Every 1,000 balls, he fields 996. How's it even possible? Well, one, he's focused. We talked about the first component, being on time, expecting the ball, being present, being on time, one pitch at a time, the grinder. Then the voice of doubt, that doesn't even exist in his mind. Doubt, what's doubt? So he's already got those two categories already taken care of. And then when you talk about posture, he's the master of posture, starting low, staying low. So when you think of the 996, that's what we're striving for. And it goes to intent. What is your intent? So when we actually take ground balls, I remind my guys, 996. Because if you want to separate yourself and be that guy that doesn't miss that one play out of 100 that everybody else is going to miss because they got lazy, because you're not going to miss probably 90 out of 100 with even high posture. That's not the question. It's the 4 plays. So the other guy's fielding 920, the other guy's fielding 940, and I'm fielding 996. It's because I pay attention to the 212. It all stems from in between innings, at practice, all the time, making that a high priority, because that's one of the biggest challenges of infielders. Now you talk about the big leaguers. The big leaguers, think about this. How long did it take a human being to learn how to walk? Well, it takes them maybe 6 months, because you're a baby, you can't even move, and then you go from baby to crawl to walk, right? Over that time of learning, you had to learn how to walk. But once you learn how to walk, you literally don't have to practice it anymore, because your body knows how to do it. You could literally not walk for a month and you'll be able to walk just as good as you did, because you've developed the skill. It becomes memory. It's memory to your body. You don't have to practice it. Well, a major leaguer has such memory because they've done it so many times, literally in between innings. They don't need to do it just right. You know why? Because it's like learning how to walk. They already know how to do it perfect, and they do it perfect without even trying, because they've already done it 10,000 times. They're at a whole nother level of experience and repetition. So the players that are watching the advanced guys and saying, I'll just be like that guy. Well, you haven't earned the right to do that. You earn the right to break the rules once you've mastered them and they are unconscious. So I don't practice walking. Do you, Trent? Do you get up in the morning and say, I got to practice walking, right?
No, not recently. No.
Not really. Then you sit on the couch for, you go, man, I'm going on vacation, right? So you sit on the couch for 2 days doing nothing. You're at the beach, right? You got like a go-kart that's picking you up and taking you back. You don't have to walk, right? You don't forget how to walk. You walk just as good. And the major leaguer, by the way, is just as good in between innings if he goes down and gets it, or he reaches with one hand, because he has it unconscious, spontaneous movement to perfection. So posture, very important. Now, why do guys not want to get low? This is one of the great separators. It's lower body functional flexibility. You don't have to be completely flexible in every part of your lower half to be able to play low with ease, with no effort, with suave actions. Well, a lot of infielders, they might say, my hammies are loose, but my hip flexors are tight. Oh, problem. Hip flexors, number one. Growing hip flexors, much more important. Your ability to play low. So when you think about the effortlessness, the ease, well, the reason why, Trent, I truly believe they don't play low is, one, because they're reinforced. Two, no one holds them accountable. They don't hold themselves accountable. But the other one is there's tension to most players. Most players are not loose, and they don't take it like a high-level catcher stretches probably about 45 minutes a day. When you're talking about elite catchers, why do you think they move back there with ease, with comfort, blocking balls, receiving, throwing guys out? There's no effort because they actually work on it. Well, master infielders are either born with the flexibility or they have to work on it. And most guys do have to work on it. It's not a natural gift. Well, how many guys literally make it a priority, like their backhand or turning double plays? Very few. So they don't feel comfortable down there because it takes effort. So anything that takes effort, as the human element tells us, human nature, it tells us that, man, I don't like doing things that are hard. That's being human. So now I don't want to go down there, not because I just don't want to, because it's effort. It's too hard. Then you go to functional strength. You can lift all the weights in the world that you want. You go ahead and talk about this real quick, Trent. You talk about it all the time, right? You can lift weights, but it doesn't mean you're in infield shape.
Right. Yeah. No, like taking ground balls is a whole different set of muscles. Okay. That was why I enjoyed taking ground balls. Being in ground ball shape is what I call it. You can squat, you can, those, certain things can help you with your flexibility and your strength, your lower body strength. But until you can take ground balls on a regular basis, I'm talking 50, 75, 100, in the heat, playing low, staying low, concentrating, keeping your focus. All of those things require a whole another level of player. And the guys just don't want to do it. Ground ball shape, it'll wear you out. Like if I go out right now at my age, I'm probably good for about 8 to 10. And then I start, feeling it in my inner thighs, I start to lock up, and I call it the claw. The claw kind of gets you. And so that happens to young guys as well. They're just not in ground ball shape. And to me, that is an emphasis on good posture.
So when we think about functional strength, it's all functional strength. You think of a surfer, you think of a skateboarder, you think of someone who pulls a bow and arrow back. There was a gal on the airplane with me, and she was sitting next to me, and she said, "I'm a professional archerist. That's what I do." And I said, "Really?" And she had no muscle on her body, and she would look like she was completely out of shape. And she goes, "Yeah, I can pull the bow back at 120 pounds. I don't think you could do that." I'm like, "No, I don't think I can either." She goes, "My father can, and neither can my two brothers. And they're like 220 pounds, 6'2". She goes, "But I practice at 120. I'm like, "That's unbelievable." And I go, "That's everything that I talk about. It's all functional strength. How do you develop an arm? You don't develop an arm by going to the weight room. You develop an arm by playing catch every day. The Dominicans play catch every single day because they're functionally in shape. Those little muscles, the throwing muscles, there's nothing like being in functional shape. You could run all you want. Then you go in a boxing ring. You know what happens? You're out of breath in 1 minute. You can run all you want. It's not the same. You have to spar. So you have to take the ground balls to get in that type of shape. So when you talk about tension, being tight in your lower half, it has to be a priority. And you have to hold a stretch for at least 30 seconds for it to even start to lengthen. Nothing below 30 is all just warm-up stuff. It needs to be 30 to 2 minutes. You literally reprogram, okay, the way your central nervous system works, because it literally is protecting you, literally. Your central nervous system protects you, because when you're a baby, you can do anything you wanted. You can stretch, you can put your foot around your head. But when you're 5, you hadn't done it for so long. What happens is the central nervous system starts to protect because it knows you cannot do that. So what happens is if you don't do a stretch for more than 30 seconds, literally your central nervous system prevents you because it's protecting you. But once you go into the 30 to a minute to 2 minutes, what happens is you trick your central nervous system, and it actually lets go. And it allows you to lengthen. So these 20-second stretches, these 10-second stretches are nothing but warm-ups or a waste of time. So your warm-up routine, your post, when you're done, like with my nephew, he's so flexible, we don't stretch. He's too flexible. So we don't, but we started when he was young, and I realized that this is not an area he needs to work on. We don't need to get him any looser than he is. So we shut that piece down. So you have to know yourself. Where are you tight? Is it hip flexors? Is it groin? Is it quads? Is it hammies? Is it glute? Is it hips? Where are you tight? And make that a priority. Very important. When you think of a hitter, they're always in the cage and they're being reinforced. So our hitters in America learn how to hit in the batting cage. They learn to hit the tee. They learn to hit soft toss. They learn to hit front toss. And they learn to hit field goal BP. Those are 4 ways to get comfortable. But hitting is about being comfortable in the uncomfortable. And that is the biggest challenge. How can I be the master of the hit tool? So what happens is I'm hitting in the cage with a big leg kick. I have a lot of action with my barrel. Okay, I have a lot of movement, and I'm generating this false exit speed in the cage that does not translate into the game. And why do most hitters struggle in the game? Because they're trying to take this unfunctional swing from the cage into the game. Well, what do you think we're doing during our ground balls? We're doing all this feel-good stuff, and then we get to the game and we realize that we were exposed. It doesn't work like that. Pay attention. Think about your intent. Think about the 996. We're literally trying to beat Omar Vizquel's fielding percentage. Our goal is 997. Will we ever get it? I don't know, but we're sure going to try. And when you have that type of intent, you pay attention to details.
We're working out right now in Georgia. Our players are allowed to condition in the weight room, and we finish up every day with posture holds for the entire team, even the non-infielders. We do, at you backhand glove side posture holds, and I correct their posture. They have to hold for 30 seconds. Okay. And they struggle just 30 seconds holding
Wow.
good posture. So, these guys, of course, are just getting back into shape. So it's not a knock on my players. They've been, because of COVID, they've been down and out, for the most part. I mean, some of them have done things on their own. Some of them haven't, but they still struggle with posture, and a lot of them are very, very strong in the weight room. So that's just another example of how just being strong in a weight room doesn't mean that you can carry functional infield strength into your posture of playing low in a game scenario and setting. Secondly, I can think of a couple plays. I haven't played a baseball game in 30 years, and I can think of there's a couple plays that stand out to me, errors that I made in my life. And the worst feeling in the world to me as an infielder is when a ball goes under your glove, and especially under your glove through your legs, right? That's like the most embarrassing thing that could ever happen, in my opinion. At least that's the way I felt. And I had it happen twice. To me. And it was miserable. And why did it happen? Because I wasn't playing low. Enough. And I creeped up a little early. I wasn't low enough to start with, creeped up a little early, and the ball got underneath my glove. And it is embarrassing when you're supposed to be a high level player, and, you let a ball go through your legs like a little leaguer, So, it's so much easier to go up than to go down. And Nate, I want you to touch on this for me, because when you have good posture, okay, with your hips and your back is parallel to the ground, will you discuss for a minute how that actually can translate into a little momentum and actually eventually translating into more velo in your throw?
Sure, you bet. So what we want in our feet is we want momentum and direction, and that's what you're talking about. And the momentum and the direction is something that we don't want to force. And if I'm in posture, it's just like a runner. So when you think of an Olympic runner or any track star, they're on the track and they're in their 3-point stance. Their first move, where is their chest? Their chest is way out in front of their torso, right? It's in front of their hips. And what that's creating is forward momentum without even creating it. It's already there. They don't have to try to create it. And Wu Wei is literally, it's effortless effort. It's doing without doing. So when you think of the word Wu Wei, it's effortless effort. So you can put yourself in positions. They're power positions. They're positions where your body finds momentum and direction without trying to. So as an infielder, his goal is to field through the ball. Anytime he can, he's trying to field through the ball with momentum and direction towards first base. Now, if I have my chest forward and down, it's just like a base stealer stealing within his first 3 steps, or an Olympic runner running in about their first 10 yards. Their chest is out in front, creating forward momentum, which creates speed. But there is no effort. It's just happening with ease. So when the infielder has that chest movement forward, and he has a little lean, like a catcher would lean into a throw to throw down to second base when a runner is stealing, what happens is it just flows. It's this beautiful flow. It's like a river, and it just flows. It's like a river. It's like a wave. It's easy, and it's easy on the eyes, and it's easy on the defender. And he has more velocity. He has more carry, and it's like less effort, more result, better result. And when you think of a long period of time, when you think of a minor league season, 136 to 145 games in 155 days, you're going, wow, 56 games in 90. That's the college season, the Division I season. Now I'm trying to create as little strain as possible. And also, I'm a showman, by the way, as an infielder. I am a showman. People are paying to come see me make plays. They want it to be beautiful. It's a craft. It's an art. It's a dance. So you're putting your body in a sequence that it just flows, and it's beautiful. It's that forward momentum. So, yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And then the other thing, your hands are automatically out in front without even trying. And the other piece is your face is down. So you don't have to try to watch it in. And you don't even have to try to get your hands out in front. It just becomes easy. And you don't have to have your forward lean because it's just there. So you go, wow, that guy looks great and easy. Well, yeah, it is, because he's in posture.
All right, so let's explain why that can help somebody at a showcase. Okay, so high school players, go to these showcases and they're going to get 6 ground balls at shortstop. And one of the tools that are being measured is their throw tool, their arm strength, their velo. And, you know, how can that help somebody show better in a recruiting setting? Not only do they look better, you just discussed that, but how important is that extra velo that comes from the result of what you just described?
Right. So you think of, I mean, when you're evaluating the defensive tool, you're not only evaluating the hands and the feet, but also the arm tool. So you're thinking of two components, the defensive tool and the throw tool. So you think of both. So when I'm thinking of the throw tool, if I can add a mile to 3 miles an hour on my velo, just because I have more momentum into my throw, it's just like a base stealer. I might get just 1/10 of a second because my chest is out front. But if I can get that 1/10 of a second, that's the difference between out and safe. That might be a 6'6" runner versus a 6'8" runner, 1 to 2/10 of a second. So if I can add anywhere from, let's say I'm 86, now I added 88. But what happens is I'm going to throw more runners out, and two, it's more impressive to look at because I have more velocity with less effort. No effort, more velocity. Wow, that's what we're talking about. So now from the throwing side, it looks impressive, but two, from the fielding side, it looks once again like the river. You only get 4 to 6 plays, typically 4 to 5. So you're going, how am I going to separate myself? I'm at a college camp. There's 50 other infielders, or I'm at a, let's say a showcase, and there's all these guys. Well, how do I actually separate myself when most guys don't miss any of the balls? It's not just making the play, it's how you make the play. It's the ease, it's the beauty, it's the art, it's the effortlessness, it's the woo way. And when you start to dance with the ball and you have this flexibility in your lower half and you have functional strength and you know how to read hops and you can play through balls and your body's in posture, it's so beautiful that you say, that's the guy that I want. Out of the 35 guys, and all 35 of them did not miss one ball. They all had 5 plays and they all made them. But you're the one that was selected. And they also probably liked your GPA. So that was the first thing to get you in the door. It went GPA, this guy's a good student. He's got some character. And then boom, now I like the way he moves. And then let me tell you something. You can miss 2 out of the 5 plays and still get more offers than anybody there, because it's how you move. It's how you approach the ball. It's not, did I make the play? It's how am I fielding the ball? Because that will translate over time. We're not so focused on necessarily right now the result. We're focused on the projection. Yeah, and then there's a couple other pieces that I just wanted to touch up on. Was that when your glove is on the ground and your chest is low, your glove literally only has to move one direction to field the ball. If my glove is 6 inches above the ground and it's supposed to bounce up, but it doesn't, my glove now has 2 choices, down or up. And like Trent said, it's about 5 times slower moving down, literally. So now I'm slow, and I also am vulnerable because now I have 2 choices. It's like sitting on a curveball and a fastball at the same time. You're caught in between. You still might have success, but you're not going to be very consistent. If my glove is literally on the ground before I field the ball every time, unless it's a bouncer, you know what happens? It has one decision. I only come up and I have 5 times the hand speed, and my hands are athletic now. So there are too many reasons. And most infielders, until they become experts, they have not earned the right to play high. You have to master that skill, and you need to do it thousands and thousands and thousands of times. Because you know what happens? In the 9th inning, 7th inning, the guy hits a rocket or a slow roller, and you have to get that glove into the ground, and you don't because you're an inch high, because you're a little lazy. Your body has memory, and it remembers what you last did. So if in between the inning, my 3 plays that I got, I was lazy and high, what do you think is going to happen? My memory file is open of playing high. I did not get my muscles lined up and getting my memory working. So lots to think about from, getting in those legs and playing low.
Well, you can see why now this was such an important topic for us. And I just want to be clear for those of you that don't really understand what Nate was talking about as far as the velo element. He's not talking about running the ball over before throwing it like you might see on a Twitter or Instagram account. He's just, he's just talking about the natural momentum and direction that's created by good posture. Okay. And you can literally throw with minimal footwork, or you can take an extra shuffle from that, depending on your internal clock and everything that's going on there. So, it's just more velo with less effort. Who doesn't want that? Okay. And especially when you're trying to take care of your arm, too many guys are sitting back, letting the ball play them, and they're counting on their arm. That'll wear you down in an instant as a player. So I just wanted to clarify that. I wanted to move on, Nate. Is there anything else you want to hit? Because, you know, we got
Yeah, I
20
do.
minutes left. Okay.
I just want to just give them solutions. So what is the solution? Because we can talk all we want about what you're supposed to do. So what is the solution? If you can touch up on this too. So I'm just going to give just a very quick. It begins with intent. Everything's about intent. So what is my intent? Why am I taking ground balls today? Am I taking ground balls just to keep my position because I'm already a starter? Or am I taking ground balls because I want to get a scholarship? Am I taking ground balls because I want to be a freshman All-American? Am I taking ground balls because I want to be a first rounder? Am I taking ground balls because I want to beat out Lindor? The question is really, what is your intent? The greater your intent, the greater the motivation. And it starts becoming easy to do the little things well because I have great intent. If you put three players side by side and one guy they're all starters, but one guy is planning to get drafted the next year in the first round. The other guy is happy that he's starting. The other guy already has a scholarship, so he's content. Who's going to pay attention to detail and who's going to work harder? The guy who's planning on going in the first round in the next 7 months will blow everybody out of the water. And they all have the same goal. I want to make plays. But you know what happens? You're motivated by your intent, by your intentions. What do you want? So you have to always go back to your intentions. What do you want? And your intent is how bad you want it. So you got intentions and you have intent, then you have to be intentional. Being intentional is every day then going back to, hey, this is what I want. And I want that 996. That's what I'm striving for. And I want to be a freshman All-American when I go to college, which is next year. And then the last thing is remember what it felt like to miss that ball. Remember. Not only remember what that great play felt like, remember that also, but also remember, and Ali said it best, he said, someone stole my red bike and I'm pissed off. Okay, someone stole my red bike. Every time he fought, he remembered that guy's the guy who stole my red bike, even though it wasn't him. Every time you take the field, hey, remember what it felt like when someone stole your red bike. That means you made that error to lose that game. Don't forget when you're taking your ground balls, because typically it's a product of laziness, okay, and a lack of intent.
That's awesome. And I think it'd be very good for parents, coaches, and players to look at some of the videos that we have, in particular, some that Nate has, that demonstrates what good posture and playing low looks like. And then you have to hold yourself accountable, because most coaches are not going to hold you accountable to playing low. Okay. You have to hold yourself accountable. That goes back to the intent that, did you set that up so you can show them something, or?
No, I just stand up.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. That's I think we hit that one pretty good. So that leaves us with our second one tonight of the challenges, the greatest challenges that infielders face. And that is basically surface field element challenges, in particular surface challenges. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, there's nothing that I hated worse as an infielder than to show up at a field where the clay was inconsistent. Okay. And there's all different ways that it can be inconsistent, but it can be hard in certain areas, sandy in certain areas, wet in certain areas, overly, I mean, you name it. Okay. One of the things we're trying to do as an infielder is pick our hops. Okay. We're trying to put ourselves in a good position to field a ball where we want to field it. And if the ball is not bouncing consistently, that puts a big voice of doubt. For me, that was a game that I was not real excited about getting certain ground balls, when one time it literally might bounce and hug the ground, and the next time it might bounce and take my teeth out, okay, because it hit a hard spot. So there's numerous things that we want to discuss when it comes to this, not just the example that I gave you, but it is a very serious challenge, and especially on lower level fields, that are not well manicured. So I'm going to toss it over to you and let you talk, and then I'll come back and add some to it, Nate.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, Trent, I'm just going to cover a couple areas, and if you can jump in, then we'll just go back and forth.
Okay.
Because I have too much stuff right here, because this basically goes right to the sixth tool. And when we talk about the sixth tool, we can talk all we want. We can give information. We can talk about the mental makeup. We can talk about the character. We can talk about the resilience. We can talk about all this we want, but unless you can actually apply it, it has no value. It's nothing but information. Wisdom is information applied, and we're giving information. If players don't really understand the sixth tool, It's just information. You have to understand what you know so you can apply it. So right now we're going to talk literally how does the sixth tool affect. So going back, let's just go back to the one we just talked about, playing high, being lazy. Well, that's laziness. If you're the CEO of the Rat Nation, nobody works harder, nobody works smarter, nobody pays more attention to detail than you, the CEO of the CEO. That's makeup. So when we think of a player, what is your makeup? Are you lazy? Do you pay attention to detail? Does anybody outwork you in practice? We're talking today plus today plus today. We're talking every day. Add up all your days and put them together. Now when we're talking about dealing with adversity, that's the rock. How do you deal with adversity? Because when the dirt, like you said, it is the worst. It is the absolute worst. When late in the game, it's all messed up because you had a bunch of base runners at second base and the whole dirt is chewed up and you know you're going to get a bad hop. It's hard enough just to make plays anyways on a tough field. And now you got a beat up tough field. You're going to be challenged. So where does the mind go? The mind starts to get rattled. Okay. Where does your mind go? What is your mental makeup? What is your mental makeup tool? How do you respond to adversity? So this is typically what happens to the infielder, because it happened to me too. It happened to you. And I would say, just like the voice of doubt, it's in about 99.9% of all infielders. It comes and goes. Well, the problem with the field is it's a part of the external environment. So you have chaos that's happening. The sixth tool player that grades high in the mental makeup component department, you know what happens? The external has no effect on the internal. See, you and I didn't know how to deal with this because no one helped us with our thoughts. We just kept them in there and we just did our best and just tried to fight it off, but it doesn't go away. See, the mental giant, the rock, when the dirt is messed up, it has no effect. The external has no effect on the internal. That means you have self-control, and that is one of the components of self-mastery. You have to make that a priority. I am in control of myself. My environment does not control my thinking. And let me tell you, as a human being, just like you, just like me, and just like all the other infielders, it does. It has a tremendous effect, a tremendous effect. So what happens is you feel what you think. So right now, how am I feeling when I'm thinking the dirt's a mess, Trent? What am I thinking? The dirt's a mess, so how do I feel? Do I feel confident?
No.
No.
Not at all.
You feel what you think. So the question is how are you interpreting what you're seeing? I'm in trouble. This dirt is really bad. I'm going to get a bad hop. I hope I don't make an error. Those are 5 comments right there that are going to make you lose confidence. The rock, the external doesn't affect my internal. So what do you do? So we're going to give you a couple of tactics. One is trick the brain, train the brain, and you have to do it over and over and over. And you literally have to practice it throughout your daily life, because you don't have enough adversity during baseball, because you guys don't even play enough. You play a tournament on a weekend, then you got 5 days off. It's like the big leaguer faces adversity every day. You would face adversity every day in your life. So you have to learn how to trick and train the brain daily. So I'm going to give you an example. Anytime you do not like something, I don't like the way the dirt is, Trent. It's really bothering me right now. It's getting to me. You have to reprogram your default. Your default is your default and mine is my default. This is what my default was. When the dirt was messed up, I'm like, this stinks. This isn't fair. I hope I don't make errors today. That's what my default was. What was your default? I mean, just be honest.
Yeah, just my default was I was just going to try to be extra aggressive. I mean, there was definitely a seed of doubt, like there's a greater chance of something really bad going. And that tended to get my adrenaline up high. So, the fear of failure for me, it's like superseded, like it forced me to actually like focus in harder. And,
Right.
and I often didn't make mistakes on those fields, but there definitely was, an uncomfortableness.
Insecurity.
Huh?
It's an insecurity. There was an insecurity, a little bit of
Yep.
anxiety. It's like, and you weren't happy. Okay,
I
right?
wasn't happy at all. No.
So you literally feel what you think and you do what you feel. So I feel what I think, you feel what you think. Every human feels what they think, and they literally do what they feel. So if I feel unconfident, you know what happens? The do that I'm going to do, I'm probably going to struggle that day. I might make an error. I might just bobble some balls. I still pulled it off because I'm a pretty good player. Okay. Well, so I have to reprogram my default. It's so what, don't care. It's SWDC. So what, don't care. JHWLI is just how we like it. So right when I look at that dirt, I say, so what, don't care. Literally. I don't say, oh, this sucks. I say, so what, don't care. It's just how we like it. This is just how we like it. And I say it throughout the game. So I'm programming the positive thought in my mind. And by the way, the person that has the plus mental makeup, the player, they master controlling what they can control. And by the way, that's trained. That's a developed skill. You just don't become the master of controlling what you can control. You have to teach your players when they're young. It has to be a priority, and you're constantly teaching them and training them and reinforcing it over and over, because human beings are bothered with things that they can't control, and they try to control it. So right now, can I control the dirt? Of course I can't. If I think negative, is it going to help me? Of course not. This is just how I like it, Trent. I literally trick my brain. It's just how we like it. Just how we like it. So I don't care. Now what happens is my mind is at ease, and now literally I can be present and be focused. The master infielder, we talked about it last week, is so present that they're focused and committed to the do. This is all about the mental game. It has nothing to do with the dirt. Nothing. It's all about the mental game, the 95-5. If my mind isn't right, the 5% mental controls the 95% physical. So if I want to make plays, my mind literally has to be focused on making plays. So you think 95-5, okay, if my mind isn't right, I'm probably going to struggle. So I need to get my mind right. How do I get my mind right? It goes back to the do. Focus on making plays. That's the do. The don't is the future. I hope I don't make an error. I hope I don't get a bad hop. There's only one time zone, and success takes place in one time zone, and that's the present. That's the do. That's being focused and committed on making plays. So if you want to be the master of the diamond, the external has absolutely no effect on the internal. It doesn't matter what the dirt's like. It doesn't matter if I have a big lip. It doesn't matter if it's choppy. It doesn't matter if it's sandy. You know why? Because I don't focus on that. I focus on the do. Then you go to the law of attraction. Literally, if the mind is unsure, the body is unsure. So if I'm caught in between here, my mind is a little unsure of the dirt. You know what happens when I go to backhand the ball? My backhand's also a little unsure. And when my mind is unsure, my body's unsure. And you cannot dominate the diamond when you have uncertainty in your mind. Commit and focus on the do. And that takes practice. That takes coaching. And there might be one guy out of 100 that does that naturally. My hat's off to him. But I'll tell you right now, the majority don't. And the guy that's playing probably in the big leagues probably has his mind right. That's one reason why he's excelled and he's separated himself all the way through the minor leagues. He might have it innately. He might have had a great infield coach. The external cannot influence the internal, and it will. We have to control our focus. There's something we call the 3 R's. 3 R's is very simple. You have the 3 R's, the double AO. The 3 R's is this: recognize, release, and refocus. So right now I'm on the dirt, right? It's getting messed up. It's in the 4th inning. I noticed in between the inning. So I recognize right now I have the voice of doubt. I don't know if I want the ball this inning. This infield's a mess. I hope I don't make it. Oh, recognize it, then immediately release it. It's recognize, release, and then refocus. What am I going to refocus on? Making plays. Making plays. Because the body will organize itself to accomplish the goal of the mind. If my mind is making plays, my body's going to be confident that it's going to want to make plays, and you will make plays. So it's about tricking and training the brain and playing with the self-toss, recognizing, releasing, and refocusing. So it's the triple R, double AO is adapt, adjust, and overcome. That's what I'm going to focus on. And these acronyms literally will change the way a player thinks. And when we change the way you think, it changes the way you feel. And when it changes the way you feel, it changes your outcome. Because if I think differently, I'm going to feel confident. When I feel confident, I make plays. So it's all the mind, but typically the external controls our thinking. And we don't know what to do because no one taught us how to overcome. The tools are not in the toolbox. The toolbox is empty. People don't practice this stuff. It's not even 1% that practices what we're talking about. And literally, we practice it. But it's so simple. Commit to the do. Don't let the external affect the internal. Triple R, double AO. Recognize, release, refocus, adapt, adjust, overcome. That's the same for a pitcher, right? It's the same for any hitters. Same thing.
It's amazing. And unfortunately, it's come 30 years too late for me. But anybody that's listening gets to, if they can truly embrace this, take notes on it, begin to apply it, get to know it like they know their name, and, you know, let it be their default. You know, my strategy, depending on how bad the field was, you know, there was certain ways I would handle it. And if I felt like the field was really bad, I just tried to play extra aggressive. In my mind, what my mindset was, every extra bounce that the ball took, you know, was more potential for a bad hop. So I was a little bit more aggressive. I played a little more one-handed, where I can, you know, push through a little more easier, you know, than with two, even if the ball was hit at me. Um, you know, I just remember having that mindset of toughness. Like if I had to knock it down, I can think of like maybe 3 times that the ball hit me so hard in the chest. I'm surprised it didn't stop my heart, you know, coming off a bad hop, knocking it down and still making a play. You know, it's just the want to, you know, it's just, you're going to get it done, you know, because to me, like, I hated to lose and I wanted to be a contributor. So to me, defense was just as important as offense. And, you know, so like I said, when adrenaline was high, the things that bothered me in practice, like if I was playing on that same field in practice, I probably would, you know, have made a much higher percentage of mishandles because I was being tentative. Uh, I don't know if that was just me or what, but my default was to play aggressive. And one thing I would like to get your take on is because in the Dominican, I've heard you and other people say the fields are not very good at all. So how do those players handle playing every day with a baseball that hurts? It can knock your teeth out, break your nose. I mean, bad hops can do bad things. How do they handle it in the Dominican, and how do those skills actually help them become better fielders as they move up and get into America?
Right. It's just like fielding on an all dirt field. If you're on an all dirt field, it's pretty much Dominican-ish, because a lot of the fields in the Dominican don't have grass in the infield, the majority of them. In the pro parks, in the minor league, Dominican summer leagues, all the major league parks that they have for their minor leagues, they have grass in the infield. But when you're out in the towns, neighborhoods, villages, most of the infields are just dirt. And if it has grass, it's pretty chewed up. So basically, like you said, it just teaches you how to anticipate. It teaches you how to not sit back. You have to go. You have to be aggressive. There's a lot of one-handed come and get it plays. So you just come get balls. And that's one reason why you see these guys in the big leagues. They're really good with one hand, because when you go with two, you kind of can handcuff yourself, right? You don't have that freedom to react and move. You also see them sometimes with open stances, because you can move. If I'm always in front of everything with two hands, I'm squared up and I'm blocked myself in. So I don't have the freedom to move forward or back, move my hands. My hands can get stuck here, but with my hands on the side, I can go all the way back here. I can go forward. If I'm in the middle here in my neutral position, my hands get stuck because they can't go anywhere. So I'm able to move my feet laterally, forward and backwards when I'm sideways. So if I have a slight angle, I can go forward and back, and then it allows me more depth with my hands, with the forehand and the backhand. So a little bit different posture and setting up on ground balls, a little bit sideways at times. Really free with one hand and ready to go get balls. And you really become a master fielder, because now, that's what the American kid, he's on a nice turf field and he just gets in front of everything. He just puts his glove even 3 inches from the ground. It pretty much goes in his glove every time. And he just shuffles and throws it. And he thinks he's a good fielder. Well, he really doesn't have any skill. It's like hitting BP. Anybody can hit BP. That doesn't mean you're a good hitter, right? Can I hit in counts where they're unpredictable, with a guy throwing a breaking ball and even a changeup and he can locate? Well, that's what it is for like a Dominican fielder. He has to handle every hop, different speeds, spins, high bounces, low bounces, top spin, those dirt infields. So what we do a lot of is we take ground balls on the all dirt sideways on the base path. So instead of taking it grass to dirt, I really like to go from third base and hit it towards second base on all dirt. So now it's picking up spin, picking up top spin, and players, and we also just work on come. I just say go. And they just run and they just go get it one-handed. So it's pretty much simulating what you're talking about and being aggressive. And your hands really start to get good too. So yeah, we got about 1 minute.
Yeah, we got 1 minute. I wanted you to touch on, Nate, just how we've kind of touched on it already, but how the demise of the infielder turf, the demise of the infielder, you know, turf fields.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think we've touched on it, you know, but it just promotes laziness. It's almost like cheating. Um, Unfortunately, you don't always get to play on turf. So if if that's your home field and that's what you practice on every day, and then you end up on one of these fields like Nate and I are talking about right now, it's probably not going to be much fun for you, because you've been able to get away with sloppiness. The ball is going to, you know, take predictable hops. It's going to get to you, you know, with pretty good pace. You can sit on it a lot more and still make plays. Where on grass fields, you know, is the grass wet? Is the grass long? You know, wet grass is another challenge within itself, when it comes to fielding, throwing a damp baseball. But to me, turf just promotes laziness. Human nature, the human element is lazy. And anytime we can cut corners, it's like subconsciously it happens without us even realizing it. So day after day, if you don't have somebody on you and you don't have a stopwatch and you don't have people pushing you, you know, the tendency is to just get lazy and cut corners. And the next thing you know, you're sloppy, and it's going to cost you on fields that are not turf. Might even cost you on a turf field eventually. So that's my take on it. I think there's so many turf fields now. I mean, they're they used to be occasional. Now it's getting in Georgia in high school. I'd say 25%, you know, of the fields are turf now. Especially in the northern part of our state where it's much colder in the early spring. So it's just, you know, it's hurting infield play. It's hurting
Right.
posture. Your take on it, Nate?
Take would be everything that you're saying, and also that if you want to become a complete infielder, you must find other surfaces to field on. Fielding the ball on AstroTurf, the new turf, the field turf, does not mean you're a good fielder. And you could just sit back to the backhand, it goes right in your glove, and you just set up and throw. It doesn't mean you're not good, but it doesn't mean you're an expert infielder by any means. And once you get to a field that has grass, different surfaces, you're going to get exposed because you're not used to it. You don't even know how to read the ball. So I would highly suggest if you want to be an elite infielder, to find tennis courts, take ground balls in the pavement in front of your house, find dirt patches, go in the baseline like I talked about, and just hit ground balls on the baseline. Okay, find areas that are going to challenge you. That's how you challenge. Judgment is a product of challenging your vision and your reads. So if I want to have great judgments on a ball as a hitter, I need to see breaking balls, changeups, curve balls, fast, slow. I need to see everything. That's where judgment comes, because you're challenging that skill, judgment, and your vision. So it's the same with a fielder: judgment, vision, everything. And then now my feet have to move, so I need to have great feet. Jumping rope, ladder work, explosive work, being light and quick and agile, having a good posture. So challenge yourself. And let me tell you, when you get to any field, it's going to be a mess. I'm just telling you. Until you get to the big leagues, every field stinks. I don't care what college you go to. You're playing third base, there's going to be a lip, right? Next to second base, that's where they drop the dirt off when they pick up the drag. Now there's a sand hole there. It's always problems. So don't even let it phase you. So what? Don't care. Just how we like it. This is how we like it. And if you don't let things bother you that you can't control, you know what happens? You have the ability to be present. And when your mind is not double-minded, that's the problem. When you're thinking about the field and trying to make plays, you are double-minded. And the double-minded infielder accomplishes nothing. They will struggle. And that is the problem. We're thinking about our last at bat. We're thinking about the dirt. We're thinking about the first inning. We're thinking about all kinds of stuff. Be present, be focused, be committed. And the master infielder plays with USMFS, which is unconscious, spontaneous movement flow state. He's in the flow state. He's unconscious. He's just playing the game, and he's completely present, committed to the do. That means he is not double-minded. He's focused, committed, and on time to that one pitch. Expect one pitch at a time, and want the ball, la quiero. And that's how you need to train your mind. You know what happens when you can master that for 140 plus pitches a game? You become the master, and you literally will reach your peak performance. And if you're meant to be a college player, you will be. And if you're meant to be a professional, you will be. You will reach your peak performance. But we're limiting ourselves by how we think. Get your mind right. unconscious, spontaneous movement flow state. Get there, clear your mind and focus on the do.
I want to touch back on the feet. I think that's a huge point. I'm so glad that you brought it up because footwork, tell them we're almost done. You'll be right there. I know they're waiting on you to take ground balls. Your footwork is, you know, I call them micro movements, Nate, like your ability to like adjust to an inch, a centimeter, you know, a foot, like controlling your body, bad hops and body control, you know, coming and getting it. All that stuff is like, it's a byproduct of great feet. And, you know, you can't underestimate developing your feet. And the last one is if you're on a turf field all the time, especially turf, I would challenge you to do your drills, the ones that won't hurt your hand, do them barehanded, because it's going to force you to be in better posture positions. It's going to make your concentration level go up. If you're doing drills, regular drill work on turf with a glove, and you're a pretty good player, you're not going to be challenged. You're going to be like 100% on everything that you do. So we either just, there's Nate. So bare hand to me is you know, is a big deal when it, you know, when you're on surfaces that are so predictable. That's all I got. That's all I got. You ready?
Yeah, I would say the footwork master we have our lockdown blue collars, you know, series on Trosky Ranch, which has tons of footwork stuff on it. So we have all that stuff on Trosky Ranch, and we also have our whole complete footwork series. Right now we have 24 plays that you can learn and master 24 different footwork movements. So I mean, there's lots of stuff that we have at the Trosky Ranch, and also just our Twitter handles. And you know, we want to encourage you guys to follow us if you would. That helps us in our brand and helps us spread the word on what we're doing. So
camp, Nate, camp.
Thank you, yeah.
Tell them about our camp. Our camp's coming up this fall. We got, you know, Nate and I are going to be traveling the country. We had 3 that have been postponed and moved to the fall because of COVID. We are going to be traveling the country together as a team, flying in and doing camps. So go to Trosky Ranch, hit the upper right corner. There's a drop down list, says camps. Of course, you're not going to hit the virtual camp right now. We just finished that. You want to do the other camps, and we got them listed, you know, across the country. So we hope to see you there. We're going to cover all this stuff at camp. So until next Tuesday, brother, I'll talk to you soon. Before then, for the rest of you, have a great week. We'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, and we'd like them, Trent, anything they learned today that they appreciate, please tag us on Twitter. We appreciate that.
Yep, absolutely. Tag us on Twitter. All right, guys. Good night.
Good night. Thank you, Trent.
Oh, did he say Gus?